Yo, it's Ibetonme. Marathon launched in March. 88,000 people hit the Steam servers on day one. Bungie and Sony said this was the game, and 7 weeks later, Marathon can't even hit 15,000 concurrent players on Steam. Let me say that again. 88,000 to 15,000. That's a 83% drop in 7 weeks. And here's the one that's gonna hit different. Destiny 2, the game Bungie basically deprioritized to be a Marathon, basically has the exact same daily amount of users as Marathon in 2026. Let that actually sink in with you. Everyone's out here arguing about whether Steam charts matter, saying just give it time, extraction shooters always drop off. So I'm cutting the cap because this isn't a player count story. This is a design and retention story, and those are very different things. So now that we got that out the way, let's go ahead and talk about it. So let me be very clear before we get into it. Marathon was not some low budget indie experimental that nobody heard of. This is a Bungie game, backed by Sony, with hundreds of thousands of players showing up in the first week. See, that's not a flop at launch. That's an audience that showed up, paid money, and then walked right back out. And the rate at which they're leaving, we're looking at roughly 10,000 players per week on Steam alone, averaged across the last 7 weeks, and that number is not slowing down dramatically. If anything, the weekly floor is still dropping. Meanwhile, Destiny 2, an 11-year-old game, is in one of the roughest content patches ever, but it's still sitting at basically the exact same player base that Marathon is seeing. And let's be honest, Destiny 2 is a game Bungie has been starving off development resources to fund Marathon. So the question isn't, is Marathon struggling? See, we're past that. The question is, why is this audience that is so big leaving so fast? Because until you understand that, no patch notes, no roadmap blog posts is going to fix anything. And I've got 3 answers. Now, starting with problem number 1, the queue death spiral. Here's how it works. Marathon loses casual players fast because lobbies are brutal. Now they have the Diamarsh sponsored kit playlist, however that's just temporary. That is not a permanent solution. So with fewer casual players mean the matchmaking pool shrinks. Smaller pool means longer queue times. We're talking 7 to 8 minutes for solo queues. And longer queues mean the only people left in that pool are the dedicated grinders. Full stack trios, optimized kits, hundreds of hours in. Now you've got new players waiting for 8 minutes to load into lobbies against people who have been playing Marathon for a while. And what does that player do? They quit. And the pool gets smaller and the queues get longer. See, it's a closed loop and it feeds itself. And one player on Reddit said it better than I could. I just had a brutally unfun experience thinking of uninstalling. And they go on to say how they had 20 unsuccessful outpost runs today. And they showed plenty of frustration. That's the casual player recognizing the loop and then logging off. Probably for good. Now this is not a unique problem to Marathon. Extraction shooters hit the wall, but the way Marathon is built, specifically the map design and the trio focused structure, it makes the loop worse than almost any other game in the genre right now. That brings me to problem number 2, which I actually think is the bigger issue. Now starting with what I genuinely believe is the more damaging structural problem, the solo player design failure. Marathon was designed around trios. The maps, the priority contracts, the loot distribution, all of it is balanced around 3-player groups. And if you got a consistent squad, that probably works for you. But if you're a solo player trying to get into extractions, you're trolling yourself because the game was not built for you. And the most upvoted response to why is Marathon struggling in the actual Marathon subreddit was this, and I want you to hear this clearly. Marathon from top to bottom is designed to heavily incentive or even force PvP in a way that casual or solo players is inconsistently punished. Think about who a game like Marathon naturally attracts. It attracts Destiny 2 lifers who finally wants to try an extraction. It attracts the player who loved Bungie's gunfield but never had a dedicated fire team. It attracts the curious player who's not ready for the full Tarkov experience but wants something with stakes. That is a massive audience, and Marathon is filtering them all out by default. After several initial playtests, Bungie eventually added some solo modes. But here's the thing, a solo playlist doesn't fix the core problem. The map traversal distance, the priority contract design, the gear gap between new players and veterans, none of that changes with a playlist. This is a design debt, and you can't patch design debt with a mode label. And now this is the part I've been sitting on, because this is the angle nobody else can actually bring, because they haven't lived it the way I have. I've been playing Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 since day one. I watched Bungie build something with the best gun feel in the industry, a genuinely world-class aesthetics, and then slowly erode its player base through systematic live service decisions that constantly prioritize the roadmap over whatever the community actually needs in the moment. And when I look at Marathon right now, I'm actually watching the same pattern. A Bungie game launches with the best gun feel in the genre, and I want to be very clear, Marathon plays beautifully. The actual shooting is a Bungie through and through game, but the progression loop, the content access gates, the community cadence when things go wrong, those consistently let the community down in a critical early window. And with Destiny 2, it took multiple expansion cycles and full content mode overhauls before Bungie figured out how to retain players through a live service season. And during that rebuild period, they lost massive chunks of their audience who never came back. And then there's the Paul Tassi Forbes article, which basically says Bungie has assigned more devs to Marathon than D2, which sounds like commitment, but what it actually tells me is that Destiny 2, which still has the exact same player base as Marathon, is being under-resourced to save a game that's running out of players' goodwill. And that's the same trade-off that burnt the D2 community in the Witch Queen era. And Marathon is on the same clock, except the clock is moving faster because the extraction shooter space has real competition right now. Arc Raiders is there, and right now, to be very clear, Arc Raiders is retaining players better than Marathon. And look, this isn't just me saying this. Pirate Nation, who covers tech and gaming industry analysis, flagged something this week that I think is the most damaging signal in this entire story. He cited former Square Enix executive Jacob Novak, who said, and I'm quoting this directly so you hear it the right way, Sony owns a ton of digital real estate on PlayStation dashboards to push Marathon. Its lack of marketing push to support the numbers speak to the lack of faith from the platform holder. Then Novak goes on to say, and pay attention to this part, GAAS games don't grow organically. The dirty secret is most of them grow through marketing and UA spend. Sony has left this one for dead. Now that's not a player on Reddit, that is not a YouTuber with a hot take. That is a former executive at a major publisher telling you what the numbers already suggest. But the platform holder who co-owns the game with Bungie has quietly stopped betting on it. And when Sony pulls back the marketing spend on a GAAS title this early, that's not a signal, that's a verdict. But let me be very clear, this isn't a Bungie is incompetent take. This is a Bungie is repeating avoidable structure mistakes in the genre with less patience take. And there is a big difference. So the question everyone actually wants answered, is it too late? Honest verdict, no, but the window is short. And I think people saying just wait for a content patch are dramatically underestimating how short. Marathon needs three things, and I mean needs. Not it will be nice. I mean they need it before season 2 drops. Not a mid-season patch, not a roadmap items. I'm talking about before. Number 1, a real duo mode, not a playlist. A properly balanced duo queue with contract scaling and loot adjustments to match. This removes the biggest friction point for the massive audience that wants to play with just one friend. Number 2, solo friendly progression. Not a different mode, the existing game, but with contract scaling. A higher loot floor for solo runners, and matchmaking that gives new players a survivability entry point. Cause right now if you're a solo player and you're matching in with other randoms, you're being asked to learn extraction and fight veteran trios at the same time. That's not hard, that's inaccessible. Number 3, a real content signal. Not a blog post, not a roadmap graphic. An actual in-game content drop that communicates the game has a future and we are building it right now. The community is currently running on good faith, and good faith burns out faster than good content. The games that pull back from a brutal early drop aren't the ones that have the cleanest launch. They're the ones that prove they were listening. Deep Rock Galactic, No Man's Sky, even Destiny 2 itself came back. And what saved them was consistent, meaningful updates that respected the player's time that already invested. Bungie has a shorter runway than most to prove the same thing here, because the community already knows the pattern. But it can be done. The game has genuinely good bones, the gun feel is real, the aesthetics is there. However, the weekly bleed we're watching right now cannot survive in Season 2. And everyone inside Bungie knows it. So down in the comments, let me know your take on this Bungie situation. Also, if this video entertained you, hey, I would appreciate a like. And if you're new to the channel, hey, go ahead and sub. It helps out more than you think. And yeah, you knew this was coming. Again, I am Ibetonme, and you should too. And I'm out. And if you do want to see more of what actually happens in Marathon and where the live service space is going, I'll suggest you watch this playlist next. Also, don't forget to like and sub. You guys have a blessed day. Peace.